My name is Paul Mescal. I play Lucius in Gladiator 2. The first Gladiator obviously holds a huge amount of weight for not just myself, but like a huge amount of people across the world. So it's not lost on me what we as a cast of actors and Ridley are stepping into. Ridley Scott's the king of cinema, and especially this genre. He's so beloved. I mean, it's a total pinch yourself moment. If Ridley comes knocking, you just say yes, and to have worked as closely with him on this is one of those, definitely changed my life. It's definitely been a career highlight for me, just to kind of see the way a master's brain works. He was incredibly generous with me and his talent and sharing his knowledge with me, and just an absolutely mad experience. Lucius is the son of Lucilla. We meet him at the start of the film in Numidia, which is in present-day terms is North Africa. And the film kind of opens with an invasion of the Roman army into Numidia. That sequence is absolutely insane. We kind of see him dragged back into Rome. He has a intense dislike and anger towards what Rome, in that context, represents. And that's kind of that's where we meet him at the start of the film. All of the things that we see in the film in terms of like flooding the Colosseum, wild animals, all of those things, when I first read the script, I was like, this feels fictitious. And then reading up about it, it's like all of these things happened. It was like the greatest show on earth. The production values and what the Roman emperors put into these things, because they weren't just games, they were these celebrations and they were these offerings to the gods. But all of the things that you see in the film, it's recorded that it happened. Pedro's one of my good friends now, and what you see is what you get with him. He's got an amazing capacity of retaining the version of the human being that he is behind closed doors with the world, and I think that's a particular skill that I'm envious of in the way that he conducts himself. He's hilarious. He's an incredibly talented actor, and as a fan of his work, I'm just really excited for people to see what he does in this film. Yeah, it's quite extraordinary. This was a different approach for me than any of the other roles that I've played previously. There was a big focus on the physical preparation for this. But there's something interesting in this film where the story is actually very simple. It follows a template of kind of a hero versus villain's story and arc and how they come into conflict. But what's interesting about this is that the characters are very complicated, and within a simple story, their kind of complexities are allowed to develop at a pace that I think is satisfying for an audience. So for me, the psychology of Lucius was very clear from the first time that I read it. But the big preparation for me was kind of scale of performance. And I think having Ridley at the center of it, whose only interest is the talent for which he hired us as actors. That's what he wants. And you've got to kind of remove your ego and leave it at the door and kind of just step into it. Connie Nielsen's like a wonderful human being. She plays my mother in the film. She's got a kind of wonderful dexterity with films of this scale, like knows her way around them in a way that I thought was really interesting to watch her work. She is the emotional heartbeat of the film. She's the person who has the most information for the characters' lives in the film, and I just think it's a wonderfully elegant performance. Denzel's one of the greatest actors to ever walk planet Earth. His performance in this is like so unbelievably colorful. Him and Ridley together working on something with the amount of films that they've shot. But the thing that I keep being struck by is how you read certain scenes that he played and you look at them on the page, and then what he delivers on the day is so unbelievably playful and colorful and dynamic. And again, it ties back to the fact that he's just been there and done that, and knows how to navigate character in a way that if I could I mean this sincerely. If I could scratch the surface of that in 20 years' time, I'd be incredibly, incredibly lucky and grateful. The kind of neuroses that with which Joe plays his emperor is incredibly interesting when you balance that with Fred's kind of true madness. Like Fred's like actually more mentally unwell, and Joe's more neurotic. And I think it's a really clever choice that they both made. And I think we're definitely the three of us in particular are pinching ourselves in terms of having access to the actors that we have around us in terms of experience, and then King Ridley at the top just calling the shots. It's like something that isn't lost on us. Maximus is such an unbelievably iconic character, and I think when you see Lucius throughout the start of the film and you don't have this information yet, that the minute that reveal is made, it suddenly makes sense that this character in Lucius is a born survivor because of who his father is. It's in his blood. What are the things that we inherit from our parents? And this film just dials it up to 100 in the fact that Maximus is just a born survivor, and that's probably one of the main questions that an audience will have for Lucius is like, how does he manage to survive this level of violence? And I think it's because of who his father is. There was a moment stepping out in kind of Gladiator Armor where I was like, okay, whoa, this looks like it's going to happen. That's a harder thing to do when you're aware of the legacy when you're stepping into it. That's obviously a heightened moment. When you're stepping into the armor and you're in front of a mirror, you're like, okay, this is the template of what I have to fill. But it's weirdly seeing the armor and seeing what that outline was, I was like, I've got to fill this now, and that's the job. You're looking at like Arthur Max, John T. Yates, Dave Grossman, Iana and Giuliano. Like, you're dealing with department heads here who are at the top of their game and who've worked with Ridley kind of religiously through the years. Having seen the film, you really see the detail of those department heads, and it's mastery. Like, you look at what they've all done in their individualized kind of disciplines, and it's like, it's top end production design, hair and makeup, costume design. Like, just profoundly lucky to work with people of that talent. That was my first taste of a Ridley film. First day on set, we were kind of kept in these holding tents, and Ridley comes out, cigar in hand, pats me on the back and goes, your nerves are no good to me. And it was an amazing piece of advice, and one of actually immense care, where he was like, I get that this is huge, but I've hired you to do your job and I trust you to do it. So leave all that, things that is ultimately like ego related, leave it in the tent and come out and do your job. And that was like, he gave me permission to feel like I was able to step into it. And Morocco was kind of a blur. It's a big, huge action sequence at the top of the film that I think is definitely one of the best that Ridley's ever put to film, but also I think it stands up there with kind of any kind of period battle scene that I've ever seen, certainly. The scale is huge. The kind of buzz of the film is huge. But if you boil it down, the story is simple and the characters are complicated. And I think it gives an audience a real opportunity to invest. Ultimately, what you want to see is how these complicated characters are navigating this. To my mind, it's a simple story, and one that's very relevant in today's day and age.